Hi, thank you all for being here today. I'm Sam Brotman with Brotman Law, and today we have Donna Simcoe, who is our guest today. And this is a rare treat. Donna is a client of our firm and went through a state payroll tax audit. So today we've got Donna and we've got Carlos Gomez, who is one of our senior associates in the firm. We're going to be using Donna's audit as a case study and kind of walking through the different steps of the audit and then going from there. So with that said, Donna, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sam and Carlos, for allowing me to be here today. Yes, I am a medical publications consultant. I run my own S corporation, and I have worked in the pharmaceutical industry about 30 years. So about 20 years I was an employee up to the director level in large pharmaceutical companies. And then I started my own consulting company about 11 years ago. I have freelance and writers and graphic designers who help my team, and so I was happy to work with you and Carlos when I had received the state payroll tax audit late last year.
So Donna, can you tell us a little bit about what your business was like during the audit period and about the people that you had working for you?
Sure. So I received the audit from the state payroll tax authority in October of 2023. And I am working as a medical publication consultant, so I work for smaller pharmaceutical companies to help them with publishing their clinical data. And I have a number of freelance medical writers and graphic designers who work with my company. And so then that's when I had received that audit at that time, and then that's when I started to look into who could help me with that.
Donna, how did you first find out that you were going to be audited for payroll taxes, and what was kind of your initial reaction?
Sure. So I found out, I received a letter in the mail from the California State Payroll Tax Authority in October of 2023 that said that I was going to be audited for my payroll taxes. And I was really pretty panicked about it. So I had reached out to my accountant and I asked her if she had any suggestions on how do I address this. And she sent me a link to an article that was on your company's website that really went step by step on the process of this audit and to not panic. And then that's when I reached out to you.
So at what point did you make the decision to hire, professional representation or, seek out the services of an attorney? You had our article. Why didn't you feel like you could tackle this yourself?
Sure, that's a great question. This was really something very new, something I had never encountered before. I think any of us who receive tax audits, we get a little nervous about that. And I think it's also maybe some new legislation and new guidelines. And so what did this really mean? What exactly did they need from me? How to have those conversations with them. So I really felt like I wanted to work with people who were experts in this area, who could talk with the experts at the state tax authority. And so I was happy to have that help.
So Donna, if you think back, when you first contacted our firm, you and I sat down for a consultation and we had an initial conversation. So what were the reasons, if I can ask, why you chose to retain our firm?
So I really enjoyed our conversation, and again, by having that article on your website, that sort of step by step, this is the process, and to not panic, I felt like you were answering the questions for me already before I even asked my questions. And then our discussion was very good. That I've really felt that you had a lot of experience working with more than hundreds of clients through this process, that you had been through it. You helped me with understanding the process better. And then I felt that you could really help me through this.
The reason we design the consults the way that we do is we want to give people kind of a broader educational perspective to make an intelligent decision. I always tell people, I don't make decisions for people, I give people enough information to make their own decisions. And so it's really important to me, especially in your context, that you understood not just payroll tax audits in general, but really understand what the process is for your type of business, what specific issues that you're going to face, because state payroll tax audits follows sort of a similar framework. It's the government, and the government tends to do things wash, rinse, repeat. But depending on the type of business you are and the parameters about your specific situation, it leads to different outputs when you put it through the machine. So after you retained us, we did a kickoff call and you talked to Carlos initially. So what was the conversation like with Carlos at that point?
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was very good talking with Carlos. I really highly recommend working with him. That he had told me about this process. He has helped more than hundreds of clients through this. That really walking me through, okay, this is the legislation, understanding that better than I had in the past, and understanding exactly what documents I needed to pull together from my company and provide. And then that he would also do a pre-audit process where he really looked through it, really looked from a strategic point of view in what kinds of questions the auditor might ask, where might be the liabilities there. And understanding that earlier really put my mind at ease to understand that process before I needed to really go through it with the auditor. So I felt that I wasn't alone in this process. I felt like I had a team of people helping me.
So Carlos, can you introduce yourself? Can you explain a little bit about your background and your experience in state payroll tax audits and helping people like Donna?
Yeah, sure. My name is Carlos Gomez and I'm a senior associate at Brotman Law. Over the last few years, I've helped clients deal with payroll tax audits, including Donna. We've dealt with different clients in different industries of different sizes with different complex issues. We've achieved great results for all of them.
So Carlos, can you provide a little context about why the misclassification of independent contractors is such a hot button issue for the states?
Yeah, one thing we need to understand first is that the payroll authorities in various states, their main concern is protecting workers. So one of the things they've observed over the last few years is the abuse of the 1099 contractor system, whereby businesses were simply issuing 1099s to individuals instead of hiring them as W-2 workers. One of the reasons being the associated costs. So the states stepped in and started passing laws to make it harder to have independent contractors. They truly want to see business-to-business relationships. They don't want to see a scheme whereby a big business is taking advantage of a small individual contractor. They don't see that as fair, so they want to make sure there's an equal bargaining power and that there's formal business requirements that are being met.
And what are the implications for both the employer and the worker?
So for the worker, the implications are that they're being forced into an employment relationship whereby they're not really running their own business and cannot take advantage of certain tax benefits such as deductions. For the employer, it's a little more complex, but at the end of the day, it's truly down to the cost. If you hire someone who was a contractor who's already charging you a premium for their services, now you also have to pay for their payroll. You have to pay a payroll provider, benefits, all of those associated costs.
One important point, which I want to make sure the audience knows, is a lot of these laws that exist on the books, like AB5 in California, although most states are moving, if they haven't already moved in a similar direction, they start with a benevolent intent. It's not necessarily to cause pain and suffering to the employers. It starts with the concept of protecting the worker and making sure the worker is properly insulated, because oftentimes workers are in that, as you mentioned, that weakened negotiating position. But the problem is with those good intentions, although the path is paved in good intentions, auditors don't run businesses. And so when they're looking at things from a much different perspective, for example, than you would, Donna, because they see 1099s and immediately they think this person must be misclassified in some way, shape, or form, without really giving a thought to what the broader context might be. It's kind of a flip of the innocent until proven guilty. If you've got 1099s, you're almost guilty until you can clear them or prove that they're different in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so for the audience here, let's kind of walk through this, Carlos. So from a legal standpoint, can you walk us through kind of the initial steps of what a payroll tax audit looks like?
Yeah, sure. So usually a taxpayer will receive what's considered a periodic questionnaire. Some just notice letting you know, hey, you've been audited, we need some initial information from you. There's a list of documents that they may tell you that, to start preparing. At that point, you return that to the state. After some time, you'll be contacted by an auditor, as in Donna's case. You'll have some back and forth, set up an audit appointment, start producing documents. They may conduct some due diligence prior to the meeting, and at the meeting, they may ask questions from the documents, whether it be questionable workers or questionable transactions. And that middle part of the audit is really focused on due diligence and making sure that anything that they don't understand or that seems questionable is cleared. And then towards the tail end, you'll know whether there'll be an assessment to your case or not, which can either be a no change audit, as in Donna's case, meaning there's no assessment for the case. There can be a refund, meaning you overpaid taxes, or there can be an assessment, meaning you owe taxes to the state. And at that point, if there is an assessment, you can also make the decision of whether you want to appeal the case to the appeals board.
What I'd really like to highlight for the audience is there's strategic components that come into play at every stage in the process. One of the things you and I have talked about, we talk about in the firm, is I never want our attorneys to lose the opportunity to advocate on behalf of a client. In particular, with a lot of the penalties that are associated with state payroll tax audits, which thankfully, Donna, you didn't experience, the penalties are often 5, 7, 7 times more than the actual tax itself. And so it's really important to understand things in that strategic context and not just go through the compliance motion, so to speak. So Carlos, moving on from a representative capacity, when you were working with Donna and when you're preparing a client for a payroll tax audit, what are the key things that you do? What are the key things you look for? What is the preparation process like?
So one of the initial things that we do is we make sure we explain the legal paradigm to them. One of the things that we see often is that clients have a preconceived notion of what they're doing being all right because the rest of their industry is doing it, when the state does really not see it that way. We want to make sure the client understands that there may be risk associated with their case, but we also want them to understand that we're going to be behind them. We're going to be auditing all of their documents, their business, making sure that we assess any risk prior to getting to the auditor, so we're fully prepared for that.
So Carlos, Donna's audit was pretty straightforward, but it wasn't necessarily easy. So can you talk about some of the challenges you faced during the audit? Were there any points that you felt particularly concerned?
Yeah, so one of the main issues of concern was, from the legal perspective, the element of whether a worker is essential to the business. When you're dealing with businesses that perhaps have a worker that's in the same line of work as the hiring entity, it can create problems. So in the case of Donna, when she's a medical publications consultant and she's hiring medical writers, we want to make sure the auditor does not have the preconceived notion that they're doing the same type of work and that they're truly separate lines of work.
Well, happy to report that the result in Donna's case was a no change audit, which means Donna didn't get any additional assessment. We passed the audit with flying colors. So with respect to Donna's audit, Carlos, what strategies did you employ to help move along that result?
So one of the main things that we discuss is the pre-audit. So usually there's 3 main issues that you deal with in an audit, and it differs from different payroll authority to others, but mainly they're looking at the worker classification, and in doing that, we pre-audit pretty much looking at all the evidence available as to each contractor. We create profiles for each so we can assess the potential risk for each. There's other issues with payroll, making sure that all the financials reconcile. And in some cases, there's reasonable compensation related to S corporation owners and state authorities ensuring that their shareholder distribution system is not being abused. So that's the main strategy that we employ, is making sure we can get ahead of any issues. And if we need to, we create lengthy and extensive profiles on all the issues that we need to address.
So Carlos, speaking from this experience and other experiences that you've had in the past, what are steps that businesses who are similarly situated to Donna, what can they do to help themselves?
Yeah, I think the number one thing they can do is talk to counsel about their business and perhaps getting an assessment on their business before they even are contacted for an audit. As I said earlier, a lot of clients do have the preconceived notion that because what the rest of the industry is doing is the same thing they're doing, that they're doing things correctly. But the state has a very different view on that. So speaking to a professional, making sure that you have everything in place, including good contractor agreements, is a really valuable step you can take.
Donna, what advice would you give to other small businesses or other similarly situated individuals who are going through the audit process?
I think education is very important to have, so I'm very grateful that you are doing videos like this and also the article that you had posted on your website, and just educating people about what this means if they do receive an audit, or if they are working as a freelancer, independent contractor, or hiring freelancers or independent contractors or subcontractors to help their company, to really understand this. And then also, like Carlos had said, to really talk with the experts who understand this field, so legal counsel who understand these laws and can help someone navigate them, especially if they receive a payroll tax audit.
Well, perfect. Well, Donna, Carlos, thank you for your time today and for being here. If you all have any questions or if there's anything that we can answer, please reach out to our firm. We're always happy to make ourselves available as a resource in any situation. So thank you both again, and look forward to speaking with you soon. All right, guys.